I'm Kurt Shewell, and this is my story. Yeah, growing up, it was pretty normal for the first few years when I was little. My parents, we lived in middle America, very middle class. My dad was a biker, so he lived a biker lifestyle, and he had started a motorcycle club before I was born, and we lived that lifestyle. And by the time I was 8, my parents ended up divorcing, and what ended up happening shortly after that, I ended up living with my dad. I was the middle of 3 kids. My sister and brother lived with my mother, and we kind of went in 2 separate directions, and kind of the 2 families just went in different places. The funny part was, as much as I was a lot like my dad, and I followed obviously my dad's direction, I wasn't really that way. I wasn't the biker style. I was more of the athlete, the jock. I was more into school. You know, he grew up, he wasn't. I was somebody that really was. For a high school kid, I was a pretty good athlete, so I excelled in sports, and I played the basic sports, you know, football and baseball and such. I was captain of the football team. I was very active. I ran track and things like that, so I was quite the jock. In school, when you get to like the junior, senior year, they do that aptitude test. So we took the aptitude test, and it tells you what you're going to be. And the interesting part was all my friends were going to be, you know, engineers or electricians and plumbers and doctors and lawyers. And mine came back and said I was going to be a used car salesman. So I was kind of the laughing stock of my class when that happened. And, you know, used car salesman was kind of connotative to you're going to be a loser and you're just like the lowest life form out there. So it was pretty interesting. And I took it hard. I went home and I bawled my eyes out. I told my dad what was happening and what they said I was going to be this loser. And he sat me down and he said, you know, son, you know, who's your idol? And I said, well, my uncle George down in Florida owned a used car lot, and he made a lot of money. He was very successful, and he was somebody that I really admired. And he said, well, remember too, everybody where I work, my dad was a trade, so he said, everybody at my place where I work, son, all the top people making the most money, they're all the salespeople. They make the most money. And then I was like, all right, maybe that's not so bad. My late teens, early 20s, I had lived on my own, and I was working, of course, in sales. At one point, I was selling appliances, and there was in my formal years, it was that part where you're chasing money, right? So I was always chasing about where could I make more money, what could I sell that paid me more money, and I was selling appliances back in that day in the 80s. My supervisor, a guy named Neil Feldman, had come in, and I was up for a promotion, so I was going to be potentially the youngest store manager at the time, and he came in to meet. We're going to have lunch and be interviewed, and as he came in, we started talking. And about 45 minutes later, after we're talking about, you know, parties and girls and all these crazy things, he says, all right, I got to take off. I got to go. And I was like, aren't we going to have lunch? And I thought we were going to like have an interview. And he goes, no, we're all set. We already did. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, you're just not ready. So I can't promote you. I can't put you in charge of a multi-million-dollar business when you're too immature. And that was like an impact and knocked the wind out of me. And I said to him, like, whoa, I didn't know we were interviewing yet. We didn't even go to lunch. And he said, Kurt, remember one thing, you're always being interviewed. As my career went on, I changed jobs to the next sales job, and ultimately ended up as a vice president, regional VP at a giant company called Honeywell. And I had a family, and at this point I was in my mid-30s. I was making about 4 times what my dad made, so I had a level of success that I thought was pretty good. You have 5 kids, and life throws you some curves. So my oldest daughter, which was 8 at the time, I have 5 kids, Matt, Jamie, Stephanie, Savannah, and Sydney. And my oldest daughter, Stephanie, she had got sick when she was 8, and she had medulloblastoma, which is cancer. It's brain tumors, and it's cancer in your spinal fluid. So that was a day that changed our lives forever. And the doctor said, you know, you've got to go down, and you're going down to Children's right now. There's a neurosurgeon team waiting to, do brain surgery on her to go attack these tumors. After the first brain surgery, her face didn't wake up, and only half of her face ever woke up. And it was an interesting, and this was the most pivotal moment, I think, in my life, being that here you have this, your daughter, the most precious thing you have, and you can't save her from what's happening. And what was really interesting was I was able, through this journey, through her, through God's plan, not mine, because that certainly wasn't my plan, but it was his, that I was able to see things that I was never going to be able to see. It allowed me to understand the true gift that was in here. When she would smile, and half of her face would light up and smile, the other half wouldn't. People would look at her and go, oh, look at this poor thing, her face and everything. And I looked at her, I'm like, no, you're missing it. Look at the other half and just turn. And when you can see this beam and smile, you're seeing the most beautiful things out there. And from there, I was able to understand what my purpose really was. My purpose wasn't to chase money, and my purpose wasn't to do all these other things. My purpose was to be able to help other people and share this gift. Now we're broke, now I have no money, now I'm trying to figure that out. And the knock at the door was this guy who came in and he said, I'd like to pay a couple bills for you maybe. I said, I don't need money, I need a miracle job. The next day he called me and it was about 1:30 in the afternoon and he said, can you take a phone call? I said, yeah. And a second later the phone rang and it was his son. What he said was, hey, I heard your story, my dad told me about you. You sound like you're perfect for what I'm doing and I'd like you to come work for me. And I said, doing what? And he said, selling homes. I found an interesting thing. In real estate agents go out and try to sell people houses. And what I found was a lot of real estate agents are doing that. They're chasing that next sale because you're only as good as your next sale. A cloud-based real estate company came open because of necessity is mother of all invention. So cloud-based real estate started from that. So in 2009, a company called EXP was born by a guy named Glenn Sanford who came up with the idea of we need to do this in a cloud. And it was really out of necessity because the brick and mortar model was now in big trouble. A friend of mine, Mark Z, called me up and he said, hey, and he happened to be a big team that worked out another brokerage and a franchise model. And he said, hey, you got to talk to me about this company. And you and I got to get on this call with some other friends of mine from around the country that I collaborate with. So I got on this call with them and it was about this company, this cloud-based company called EXP. And this 30-minute call that really changed my perspective and my understanding on real estate. Now I knew that if I was part of this cloud-based brokerage, I could literally take the gift that I already know and the clarity that I've seen and the things that I've learned, and I can take these and implement them to agents across the country. So what I did was I partnered with this friend of mine, Mark, and we had the Mark Z team, which is a local team in Michigan, and built it to the #1 team in the state. Built it to over 100 agents on the team itself. But at the same time, I was able to do my superpower, which was be able to start attracting and growing agents across the country. So then I was able to really show them how to take their real estate business and get them into another place. So you're not chasing the next sale. So I teach, coach, and train agents all over the country every single day. I do free coaching every single day, and I have a coaching platform that I help agents build their businesses. So something I would tell my younger self as well is always make sure that you're getting yourself in the room with the right people. If you're in the room with the people that are the successful people, you'll become more successful. And then you can give the same gift, which there are many people out there looking for that miracle job. This is a miracle job because the cloud-based environment allows us to do things that no other place allows us to do. The thing that probably drives me more than anything else is there's never a shortage of people that need help, right? So if you're able to really put them first, and we talk about this, right? It's not about you, and I actually coach and teach this, and it's funny, everybody says, yeah, it's not about you, but the true lesson in life is when you really realize that it's not about you and it's about them, right? They want to concentrate on the three most important people in their lives, me, myself, and I. That's what's important to them. And when you start putting those three people first and not yourself, you'll find that you'll have a lot more success because you'll connect to the people, you'll give them the experience that they want. Because at the end of the day, if we're selling real estate, we don't really care which house they buy. We care that they buy the house that's right for them. Once your eyes are open to things that you've never seen before, it comes crystal clear to you. And that's the gift. And what happens is most people walk through life and they miss it. I was given a gift. I had a tragedy of my daughter going to heaven when I wasn't ready for that, right? She was 8 when she was sick, 11 when she went to heaven. But that journey opened my eyes and gave me so much perspective and clarity that the gift was in that. She was a gift. This is what drives me to keep helping more people because people just don't see it. And if I could just help them see it, that's the gift for them. And then they can help somebody else see it. Isn't that really what this is all about? If we can help each other and help the next person, now you've really got something. Now you're changing the world.